it reflected in the fact that Ukraine would not have to pay back the loan until reparations are being paid. So to conclude, today we're demonstrating our continued and steadfast support to Ukraine. We now, of course, count on the European Parliament and the Council to agree swiftly on these proposals so that we are able to give the first disbursement in April. Thank you.
Thank you, President. And Commissioner Kos, please.
Thank you. As we have just heard from the President, today we take really a next step in our support to build a stronger and more stable Ukraine, and this budgetary support package is about really much more than just financial assistance. It reconfirms that we Europeans continue to shoulder the lion's share of support for Ukraine to defend itself in the short term, but also prepare for its recovery, long-term prosperity and the EU membership. We also send a clear message that time is not on Russia's side. Ukraine's financing needs will be secured and predictable budgetary support will be guaranteed in the form of a loan to be repaid by reparations due by Russia. Our proposal includes the Ukraine facility as a pillar for disbursement of the loan, closely tying in a strict reform programme to advance accession negotiations. This reflects our continued determination to support the decisive implementation by Ukraine of accelerated reform agenda, central for a credible EU accession path. We know that the reforms are difficult. They are difficult for any government, and even more so when a country is fighting a war. But the Ukraine's facility has a track record of effectively achieving these reforms for Ukraine's future under the most difficult circumstances. And it works. It has helped Ukraine to keep the course. The implementation of the Ukraine plan has been broadly successful, with 63 steps completed out of 68 due by the last payment requests. And this was happening in the areas of rule of law, anti-corruption, energy market, public administration and state-owned enterprise governments. But we all know that this work needs to continue for Ukraine's society and economy to grow stronger and to deliver its future prosperity and also social cohesion. The Ukraine support loan will build on these achievements and further prepare Ukraine for EU membership. At the same time, it is more than evident that we are operating in uncertain times. As explained by the President, our proposal therefore brings in the necessary flexibility to address Ukraine's urgent budgetary needs and unexpected financial needs. And today's decision will undoubtedly make us better equipped to navigate what is to come, while keeping clear sight on our long-term objective for a secure and prosperous Ukraine with economic growth inside the European family.
Thank you. Commissioner Dombrovskis.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. As President said, we are now approaching the 5th year of Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine. Throughout this time, by bravely defending their homeland, Ukraine has also protected the entire European continent from Russian aggression. Europe can and must continue to provide Ukraine with the support it needs to ensure its financial stability and ability to defend itself. This is the only way we can secure a just and lasting peace, a peace which ensures real security for Ukraine and Europe in the long term. In December, EU leaders confirmed our resolve to help Ukraine to meet its urgent and sizable financing needs. Today, we have taken the necessary step to put forward a proposal to deliver this crucial support. Allow me to highlight some important elements. The funds can be disbursed through either macrofinancial assistance or Ukraine facility. On macrofinancial assistance specifically, it is a tried and tested instrument for supporting Ukraine or countries in balance of payment difficulties. It is well suited to provide fast and flexible financial assistance while driving the implementation of meaningful reforms. It also complements and amplifies IMF programs, as it has been demonstrated in Ukraine over the past decade. Both macrofinancial assistance and the Ukraine facility provide for strong conditionality, especially on the fight against corruption. The 60 billion euros indicatively allocated to support Ukraine's defense efforts will allow Ukraine to access the equipment it needs to defend itself, and at the same time it will provide a very significant boost to the rapidly developing European and Ukrainian defense industries. Finally, as said before, Ukraine will only repay the Ukraine support loan if it receives reparations from Russia for the destruction its war has caused. This is why the proposal also makes clear that, in line with the conclusion by the leaders, the Union reserves its right to use the cash balances from immobilized Russian assets held in the EU to repay Ukraine support loan. Of course, time is of essence. The European Commission will work with co-legislators to ensure a swift adoption of today's proposals. We'll also liaise with Ukrainian authorities to prepare financing strategy and ensuring steps needed to operationalize the support swiftly. With regards to broader support from our international partners, the implementation of G7-led Extraordinary Revenue Acceleration Loans initiative is progressing well. 35 billion euros have already been disbursed to Ukraine from G7 partners and the EU. And we will continue to engage closely with international partners, including the G7, to ensure a delivery on their commitments for 2026 and beyond. To conclude, supporting Ukraine is a litmus test for Europe. The outcome of Russia's brutal war of aggression against Ukraine will determine Europe's future. Today's proposal shows that we are determined to continue providing Ukraine with the support it needs, and it also represents a crucial investment in Europe's own security. Thank you.
Thank you. And we can now open the floor for questions. Yes, Sabine.
Thanks, Sabine Rosset, ANSI News Agency. There has been a strong political attention on a possible bi-European requirement. Will the loan apply the same eligibility rules on the geographical origin of defense procurement as the SAFE regulation? And could you clarify how a possible derogation will work in practice to ensure that urgent deliveries are not late? And then, if possible, I have a more technical question on the cost of servicing the debt. Does the Commission proposal specify how interest payments will be covered within the current EU budget? And if not, should we understand that the long-term solution is effectively being deferred to the MFF, with the options being either higher national contribution or reallocation from existing programs? Thank you.
So let me remind you also that we'll have a technical briefing after this press conference. But President.
I'll divide the answer between Valdis and me. The first part of your first question, I think it is an important step forward that we have integrated in this loan the same principles like in SAFE, that we say, first of all and first and foremost, if possible, the procurement should take place in Ukraine, in the European Union, and in the EEA EFTA countries. Because for us, it is a lot of money. These are billions and billions that are being invested, and these investments should have a return on investment in creating jobs, in creating research and development that is necessary for us. We have, in parallel, to boost our defense industrial base for the sake of not only the loan, but also for our own security. So there's a strong interest to give a strong incentive, first and foremost, to procure in the described region. But of course, Ukraine is at war with Russia and needs support timely. So if the capability is not available in the European Union or in the EEA, EFTA countries or in Ukraine, and not in due time, then it is possible to go outside of this region. And I think this is a very successful change that we have now introduced in the procurement rules.
Commissioner, maybe on the second question, but we can go into details in the technical background.
On a second question, so indeed our proposal also foresees interest loan subsidy for Ukraine, and this interest loan subsidy for Ukraine will be covered by the contributions to the EU budget of the participating 24 EU member states as regards this financing period, and indeed in the context of next MFF a dedicated instrument to cover interest rates can be considered, but that will be part of the discussions concerning the next MFF.
Thank you. And we take a question from an Ukrainian media, Vitaly.
Thank you. Vitaly Sizov, Freedom TV channel. My question, I think, for Commissioner Dombrovskis. Ukraine said that they need this money already in April at the start of the second quarter. How do you expect to finalize all this process quickly to ensure that this is possible to send first money in April, balancing conditionality all? Thank you.
Indeed, we are aware of Ukraine's both sizable and urgent financing needs. That's why we are aiming indeed to start disbursing in April. On one hand, we'll be engaging with EU co-legislators to ensure the swift legislative process, hopefully to be concluded by early March, which then would allow disbursements in April. And also, in parallel, we'll be working with Ukrainian authority on preparation of financial strategy for this year, so that all the necessary documents and steps can be taken in due time. And I would say also in previous years we had been working under very tight timelines with Ukrainian authorities and had been able to deliver. And in parallel, we are also working with other international partners which are providing financial support to Ukraine with the aim for them to front-load their financial contributions to the first quarter of this year, so that to cover this funding gap which Ukraine is facing already in a first quarter. And I would say this also work is advancing quite successfully.
Thank you. And Thomas, please.
Hello, thank you very much. Thomas Mann-Nielsen at Euractiv. I have two questions. So one for Commissioner Dombrovskis. Could you just give us a bit more detail about the state of play of G7 support for Ukraine? Because obviously the Commission has estimated that Ukraine needs 135 billion over the next 2 years. So how confident are you that this additional 45 billion will be covered by G7 partners? And then another question for President von der Leyen about a slightly different topic about Greenland. We've heard recently that Defence Commissioner Kubilius has said that Article 42.7 would apply this mutual assistance clause. Greenland obviously is not part of the EU, but there are tens of thousands of European citizens, EU citizens living in Greenland. So in your view, would member states have an obligation to intervene to support Greenland, including providing military support to Greenland, if the United States were to make military moves on Greenland? Thank you very much.
Let's do the following. We're focusing on the topic of the press conference, and if we have time, we come back to your question at the very end. But we start.
Thank you for this question. Indeed, from the EU side, we are, I would say, taking care of the bulk of the financing needs for Ukraine for the next 2 years, but we also expect other international partners to play their part. That's why we continue this engagement with the G7 and other partners. First of all, next year, the delivery of ERA loans initiative will continue, and we expect some 9.7 billion euros to be dispersed through the ERA loans initiative next year by other partners, because from the EU side we fully disbursed our contribution already last year. We are working not only with G7 partners but also with other countries. For example, Norway is committed to come with a sizable financial contribution. Also, EU member states will continue to provide both financial and in-kind military support, and obviously also international financial institutions. Currently, International Monetary Fund is preparing its next program of the size of $8.1 billion. Actually, on Monday, I had a meeting with IMF Managing Director Kristalina Georgiou to discuss exactly those topics, and this work appears to be broadly on track, because also for IMF, one of the conditions for IMF program to go forward is that the financing gap of Ukraine is being covered.
So there are many speculations out there about what should be done, what could be done, what may be done. I want to put all this aside and address the general principle of Greenland, that we look at what are the different debates. So first of all, Greenland belongs to its people. So it's up to Denmark and Greenland, and only to them, to decide on matters that are concerning Denmark and Greenland. That's point number one, and that's very important. We are in constant contact with the Danish government, also to listen to what the needs are, what the needs of the Greenlanders are, in very close contact. Second, Greenland is part of NATO. And when we are speaking about Arctic security, this is one of the core topics of NATO. And we know that the glue between the allies is the fact that there's always the clear motto, one for all for one. So NATO is one forum to integrate the different interests that are out there. But of course, the Arctic and Arctic security is also a matter for the European Union without any question. And we've invested since years in our relationship with Greenland. I was there last year, before all this happened, to open the office in Nuuk, so that we have a constant channel of communication with the Greenlanders. We have an investment program. We've stepped up our engagement since last year. We have accelerated our work. So there's a strong and good and existing relationship between the European Union and the Greenlanders. And for me, it's important that the Greenlanders know, and they know this by the deeds, not only by the words, that we respect the wishes of the Greenlanders and their interests, and that they can count on us.
Good. And we come back to the topic of the press conference. Yes, please.
Just one short follow-up on this topic, as we are still wondering, is Article 42.7 applicable to Greenland? I think it's quite important for Greenland to know.
The question that is applicable right now. It doesn't ask itself.
And the President was very clear in her response. Let me take one question online, because I know that many journalists are also already in Cyprus. Jorge Valero. Jorge, are you there? I see your hand. Now we need to see you on the screen. We see half of you on the screen.
Can you hear me well?
Now it's okay.
Yes?
Good. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. The question for
the sound is very bad, Jorge.
Can you hear me now? Sorry.
Now it's
Okay,
better. Now it's better, but we also need to see you.
Okay. I'm speaking close to the mobile. Sorry. So, question for the president. First, as far as I've seen, we've seen in the draft documents, there is no date included to pay the principal that we will borrow in the markets, which is quite unprecedented if we compare, for example, with the next generation EU borrowing. So would you consider that this proposal is a significant step forward towards a fiscal union, a debt union? For Commissioner Dombrovskis, if you can just confirm that the proposal meets the necessary assurances requested by the IMF in order to approve the program. Thank you.
So in extraordinary situation, for example, Next Generation EU, we have already done the EU borrowing for a very specific purpose. We do it here for the support of Ukraine, a very clear political priority that we have. And the fact that we have an enhanced cooperation here shows that there's a vast majority of member states that support this common engagement in EU borrowing to then have the means to support Ukraine.
Yes, maybe to complement, well, first on this reparation loan we are now providing, in a sense, there is no fixed term of this loan. This loan is going to be rolled over, and as I was mentioning before, the condition for Ukraine to repay the loan is once Russia pays reparations for the destruction it's causing in Ukraine. And that's why it's important that part of this proposal is also, as I was mentioning, that the EU reserves the right to use cash balances from immobilized Russian assets to repay this Ukraine support loan. So that's important element, and also that we have now put this immobilization on Russian assets on a more stable footing until further discussion, so without the need to roll it over every 6 months. Then on assurances, in a sense, there are two types of assurances which IMF needs. One is that the funding gap for Ukraine is being covered, and that work, as I was mentioning before, is broadly on track, and that was also indications I received from the IMF managing director 2 days ago. And another topic is the question of capacity to repay assurances for the IMF program itself, where there is a question on US participation in this capacity to repay assurances, and so far the indications are that it's unlikely, even though the final decision by the US is not taken and will be taken by the end of the month. But again, there are indications from the IMF that also in this scenario, other official creditors, including EU and non-EU partners, are ready to compensate for potential non-EU's participation. So also those capacity to repay assurances are going to be provided.
Thank you. And we take a final question. Yes, please. Yeah.
Thank you. This is Fabio Napoli for the Italian news agency Public Policy. I have a question for President von der Leyen. Do you believe that enhancing cooperation to issue EU bonds can be used also in other fields, like to raise money for common projects, as mentioned in the Draghi's report? Thank you.
So it should certainly not be a standard procedure. The standard procedure is the budget and the 27 together. But I think this also has shown how important it is that the political will of the vast majority of our member states is executed. So the enhanced cooperation is a vehicle that, if necessary, to implement the political will of the vast majority, if this is needed. And therefore, I think it is a good solution that we have found. I think one other element in this European Council that has been, in my view, underreported is the fact that in the course of the discussion about the reparations loan, the second option that we then did not take, there was a very important move forward. Valdis just referred to it. That is the change in the way the Russian assets are immobilized. As you know, before December, we were every 6 months at the mercy of a spoiler. We had to reaffirm the sanctions, to roll over the sanctions, and if this would not have happened every 6 months, the assets would have gone immediately back to Russia. Now we have changed that dramatically in a way that now the assets are permanently immobilized, so a very strong signal also that Russia has to come up for the damages it did. And this can only be changed by a qualified majority voting. So very strong safeguards what the Russian immobilized assets are concerned.
Thank you very much, President and Commissioners. Thank you for your participation. As said, there will be an occasion to ask you more technical questions at the technical briefing that will follow in 5 minutes. Thank you very much and wish you a very good day.